Hello Year 9, this is Mr. McGettigan here. Welcome back to homeschooling. Last term we were reading Of Mice and Men and we got up to chapter 5 and lots of you did fantastic work and we're very pleased with a lot of the work that you guys have been doing. I would like to now this week finish off the novel. We're going to be looking at some of the themes. We're going to look at the final chapter, and we're going to be starting to prepare for a piece of written work about the novel, about a specific character from the novel. But we'll be talking about that as we go through this week and into next week. Okay, so for this lesson, as you can see on the screen and on the file that's attached to show my homework, we can see that we're now on chapter 6 of the novel, which is the final chapter of the novel Of Mice and Men. What I would like you to do is now pause the video and read the final chapter of the novel. You can use the link that you've got here for the audiobook, so you can listen as you read along. I would recommend that you read along rather than just listening to the audiobook. You will be able to soak up a lot more of what you're reading if you're doing both at the same time. So pause the video now and then we will get on with the lesson. Okay, so you've just read the final chapter of the novel, and it's a quite short chapter, but it's strange in places with Lenny's visions of Aunt Clara and the giant rabbit, and obviously it's quite dramatic towards the end. Okay, we have it now 6 questions to answer. I would like all of you to attempt questions 1, question 2, and question 3. Some of you might want to challenge yourselves a little further and answer question 4 and question 5. And there's a small amount of you, I'm sure, that really want to challenge yourselves, and you can then look at question 6. I'm going to talk very briefly through all of these questions and just to give you a little bit of help, and then I will set you off and you can complete that work. So, question 1 is this. Steinbeck uses the setting of this chapter to help mirror the opening of the book. In particular, he uses phrases and images that are similar to both. For example, a water snake slipped along the pool, its head held up like a little periscope, which is in chapter 1. And a water snake glided smoothly up the pool, twisting its periscope head from side to side, which is from chapter 6. So you can see here from these 2 quotations that Steinbeck is using very similar language and he's using similar images within his writing. We know that the location of both chapter 1, when Lenny and George come through and stay by the riverside in the brush, to chapter 6. And it's the same location, but the description mirrors each other as well. So your question here is find one other example of this mirroring and use quotes to illustrate the similarity. Okay, so find 2 quotations, one from chapter 1 and one from chapter 6 to show this this mirroring. Okay, and then the B section of this question is, why do you think Steinbeck uses this mirroring technique? So this is going to get you to think about why he would want to do that. Maybe what does it say about the themes? What does it say about the characters and the journey that they have been on? Okay, if you think that actually they've come full circle, they are right back where they started from the start of the story, that might help with answering that B section of question 1. Okay, so there you go, question 1. Now, question 2. What is the significance of Lenny's 2 visions, Aunt Clara and the giant rabbit, both of whom speak in Lenny's own voice? Use at least 2 quotes in your answer. So with this question, you might want to think about this word significance. Significance basically means importance. Why are these two visions important? What do they tell us about Lenny? What do they tell us about Lenny's state of mind right now? We know that he knows he's done a bad thing. And we know that throughout the novel, George has warned him that bad things will happen if he does a bad thing, if he can't control himself. He's been warned against Curly's wife, and we know now that because of his inability to control himself, Curly's wife is now dead by Lenny's hand. So have a think now about Aunt Clara and the giant rabbit. What do these visions say to us about Lenny, and why are they important? Okay, that's question 2. Question 3. The story of the farm and Lenny and George's dream is repeated once again. Given that we've seen throughout Steinbeck's novel, what point do you think he's making about the American dream? So if you think right back to the start of the unit, we did some work and we did some reading on the American dream. Okay, what do you think John Steinbeck is trying to say about this dream and about the American dream? Okay, you might want to think about the title of the book, of Mice and Men, which is from a poem called The Mouse by Robbie Burns, and the line is, "The best laid plans of mice and men often go awry," which means the best laid plans of mice and men often fail. They don't succeed. Okay, so have a think about this and answer using one quotation. That's question 3. Question 4. The events of the past 2 chapters, while tragic, would come as no surprise to an astute reader. Explain how the following aspects of the novel have foreshadowed the final tragedy of Lenny's death. Now, we're going to be looking at foreshadowing later on this week, but very basically, it's kind of showing what is going to happen in the future, a bad thing that will happen in the future. So, we've got 5 things here. We've got the discussion of Lenny and George's contingency plan in chapter 1, which is coming back to the brush. The symbolism of Lenny's mice, okay? The incident between Lenny and the girl in the red dress that we heard of in chapter 1. The symbolism of Candy's dog. Have a think about that. We know almost right in the middle of the story, we hear about Candy's dog, who is no good to nobody, and he would be better off being put down, okay? And the symbolism of Lenny's puppy, okay? So have a think about that. And what I would like you to do is explain for each of these, or of as many of these as you possibly can, how they have foreshadowed this final tragedy of Lenny's death. Okay? Question 5 now. We have now reached the climax of the novel, the heartbreaking moment where George feels forced to kill his closest and only true friend. And here are 2 quite simple questions. What drove George to believe he had to kill Lenny? And do you think George did the right thing? Why or why not? Now, this second part of the question very much depends on your point of view. There are lots of reasons why George killing Lenny is the right thing. And there are a lot of reasons why George killing Lenny is the wrong thing. And it's very much kind of your opinion on whether he did the right thing or not. And you just need to explain yourself in that answer. And finally, question 6, and this is going to be for those of you who really want a challenge and really want to kind of push your thinking and push your analysis and critical skills as far as they can go. Throughout the book, Lenny has remained an outsider. He has been unable to interact with others and fulfill the role that society dictates he should. As a result, he has remained separate from all other people except George. Considering what happens to Lenny, what do you think Steinbeck is saying about how society relates to outsiders? Use at least one quote in your answer. Now, a quote that you might want to use from that might be where Crooks is talking about being an outsider in chapter 4. You might also want to talk about how how Curly's wife is an outsider of the group. She doesn't belong on the ranch, and she's treated and behaves very much like an outsider. So use those quotations, go back over your work, go back through the book, to try and find quotations that kind of will help you answer that question. And the question is this: what do you think Steinbeck is saying about how society relates to outsiders? You can, when you're answering this question, think about how modern society treats outsiders. You can think about how we treat homeless people, how we treat people with mental health issues, how we treat people who are a little bit different from us. You can even, if you really want to bring things in from the wider world, you can start talking about Brexit, how we as a country have decided that we don't want as many outsiders as we were getting, and immigration is a part of that as well. So really, for this question, push your thinking and start to think about the theme of outsiders in a wider way to help answer that question. Okay, so that's the lesson for today. We will have another one of these on Wednesday, and another one on Friday. And then moving into next week, we are going to be starting to prepare for a written essay, which you'll be sending into your teachers. Okay, well, it's good to have you back on the home learning, guys. It's very nice that so many of you have logged in, and we welcome you all back. We hope that you're doing well, you're staying safe, and I will see you, well, I won't see you, but you will hear my voice again on Wednesday for our next of Mice and Men lesson. Bye-bye.